I never thought I'd be the kind of man broken by the people I loved most. My name is Jason, I'm 38, and for years I believed my marriage was unshakable, that my wife Melissa and our daughter Emma were my rock. But I was wrong. Sometimes, the people closest to you are the ones who will stab you in the back when you least expect it. Melissa and I met almost 15 years ago. She was vibrant, charming, and the kind of woman who made everyone feel special. Our early years were filled with laughter, trust, and dreams of a future that seemed bright. Emma was born a few years later, and I thought that would only bring us closer. But things changed. Slowly at first, then all at once. Melissa's smile started to fade. She became distant, distracted, and cold. I found myself wondering if I'd done something wrong, or if life had simply worn her down. I worked long hours at the factory to provide for us, hoping my efforts would be enough. But nothing I did seemed to reach her anymore. Then came the whispers. At first, subtle remarks from neighbors and friends. "Have you seen Melissa with that new guy around town?" I brushed it off as jealousy or gossip. But the truth hit me one night when I found a hidden message on her phone. A message from a man named Ryan, filled with words no husband should ever read. The betrayal crushed me, not just because of Melissa's affair, but because of how she and Emma began turning against me. Emma, my own daughter, started acting out. I thought it was just teenage rebellion, but soon I realized she was deliberately trying to hurt me. She sided with her mother's lover, mocking me, refusing to listen, and doing everything to make my life miserable. One evening, Melissa stormed into the house, furious over a trivial matter. Emma joined her, hurling insults and accusations, accusing me of being weak, of not being the man they needed. It was like watching two storms collide, with me caught helpless in the middle. Despite it all, I didn't react with anger or violence. I stayed quiet, careful not to give them the satisfaction of breaking me. I knew that fighting fire with fire would only destroy what little dignity I had left. Instead, I began to plan. I spent months quietly observing, learning their routines, and gathering evidence of their lies and manipulation. I documented every missed payment, every cruel word, every secret meeting Melissa had with Ryan. My revenge wouldn't be loud or brash. It would be precise, devastating, and most importantly, quiet. I started small, correcting my finances, setting up legal consultations, and preparing to expose them when the time was right. I wasn't just going to walk away. I was going to win back my life, my respect, and my peace. Little did Melissa and Emma know. Their plan to destroy me was about to backfire in ways they never imagined. The turning point came on a cold Friday evening. Melissa thought I was at work late, but I had taken the night off. I parked a few blocks away from our house and watched through the window as Ryan arrived. The way Melissa's eyes lit up when he walked through the door made my blood boil, but I stayed calm. I recorded their conversations, their laughter, every whispered secret. Emma was there too, smirking as she handed Ryan drinks, like she belonged in their world more than mine. That night, I realized how deep the betrayal went. My own family had become a fortress of lies. But rather than confront them right then, I waited. I knew that exposing them in a fit of rage wouldn't do me any good. So, I held on to the recordings and kept my plan in motion. Over the next few weeks, I started quietly talking to Melissa's friends, planting seeds of doubt. I wasn't malicious about it, just subtle enough to make people question her stories. Meanwhile, Emma's teachers began noticing her slipping grades and bad behavior. I arranged for counseling without telling Melissa, hoping to get Emma the help she desperately needed. Melissa grew paranoid. She confronted me one night, accusing me of spying and tearing the family apart. I told her nothing, only watched as the mask slipped, and she realized I wasn't the broken man she thought I was. Then came the day I had been waiting for. When Melissa left her phone unattended for long enough for me to send everything to her employer, her friends, and even Ryan's wife. The messages, the videos, the lies, it was all out in the open. I didn't say a word. I just watched the fallout unfold. Melissa's reputation crumbled. She was forced to take a leave from work. Friends stopped answering her calls. Ryan's wife filed for divorce, leaving him exposed and humiliated. Emma, faced with the truth, finally broke down in front of her counselor, admitting she had been manipulated and lost. I didn't gloat or celebrate. Instead, I focused on rebuilding myself. I started going to the gym more often, reconnecting with old friends, and finding peace in small moments. The silence in the house was heavy but cleansing. One evening, Melissa came to me, begging for forgiveness, promising to change. But I knew better. Trust once broken is almost impossible to repair. I quietly told her that I had already moved on, mentally and emotionally. The daughter who once screamed at me and tried to destroy my life began attending therapy regularly, and I made sure she knew I would support her, but on my terms. My revenge was never about hurting them. It was about reclaiming my life and dignity. In the end, I learned a painful lesson. Sometimes, the people you love the most can hurt you the deepest. But strength is not about retaliation. It's about rising quietly from the ashes, stronger and wiser than before. Months passed, and the house that once echoed with anger and betrayal began to feel like my sanctuary again. I had taken control, not through shouting matches or public scenes, but with quiet determination and calculated moves. Melissa and Emma's attempts to break me had failed because I refused to give them that power. I found solace in routines, early morning runs, long hours at the gym I managed, and evenings spent reading or listening to music that reminded me of better days. Friends I had lost touch with reached out once they saw I was no longer the broken man Melissa, and Emma tried to paint me as. Slowly, I rebuilt my social circle, my confidence, and my hope. Legal proceedings took their course quietly in the background. Melissa's affair and the subsequent fallout meant she lost custody battles and faced financial penalties. Emma was placed under supervision and counseling, with clear boundaries set to protect everyone's mental health. One afternoon, I received a letter from Melissa's lawyer offering a settlement. No apologies, no admissions of guilt, just a businesslike offer to end the nightmare. I declined, choosing instead to walk away on my own terms. Revenge for me was never about causing pain. It was about restoring balance, dignity, and self-respect. I didn't need to ruin their lives completely. I just needed to show them I was no longer the man they could manipulate or break. That quiet strength changed everything. Melissa moved away, taking her secrets and bitterness with her. Emma started to heal, slowly but surely, away from the toxicity that once ruled our home. And me? I finally learned to love myself again. Not the man defined by betrayal, but the man who rose above it, who took his pain and turned it into power. My story isn't about vengeance for vengeance's sake. It's about the quiet fight we all have inside to reclaim our lives when everything we trusted falls apart. If there's one thing I want anyone listening to remember, it's this. You don't need to shout to be heard. Sometimes, the loudest victory is the one you win quietly, with your head held high and your heart intact.